So yes, thank you for the introduction. So Maddie and I are engagement officers at Whipsnade Zoo, have been for a few years now, and it's our job to sort of celebrate the 200 years of ZSL, doing the activities, events, and guided tours of all about our 200 years. But you're have to come up to Whipsnade Zoo because we're also celebrating a milestone this year, our 95th birthday. And yes, we're talking about ZSL's 200, but we thought we'd talk about Whipsnade as well. So this is a very brief glimpse of Whipsnade Zoo. We had to make our talk from 28 minutes down to under 20. So it's a whistle-stop tour to talk about the start of Whipsnade Zoo and how it came to be. Well, actually, as it turns out, Whipsnade Zoo was ZSL's third attempt of creating a rural sister zoo to London. So the first attempt was in the 1830s, where ZSL leased a 33-acre farm next to Richmond Park. It did not work. Basically, it cost too much, and it closed just after 2 years. And this is also a bit of an extract, because it seemed there was a few misbehaving fellows. This is an extract from the superintendent, basically mentioning a party of 17 drunks who caused a spot of bother while amusing themselves one summer evening. Not fantastic, really, for the start of ZSL. But over 70 years later, in 1903, when Sir Peter Chalmers Mitchell took over as Secretary of ZSL, he started looking again for suitable sites. Alas, World War I put a stop to that search. But finally, their third and final attempt started again in April 1926, and later in December that year, they bought the land of a derelict farm. Not only did Chalmers Mitchell want to create a zoo from this 500-acre farm, but he also wanted to create a zoo like no other zoo that existed in the UK at that time. He had a vision of an open zoo, where animals are separated from the visitors, not by visible bars and fences, but by ditches, so that there will be no barrier between the eyes of the visitors and the animals. He also saw this as an opportunity to have Whipsnade as a sanctuary for British species. It's very easy in hindsight to underestimate the vision, the courage and the determination needed in an undertaking like this. The cost alone was daunting. Back then it was £13,000. In today's money that's over £855,000. A huge sum, a huge risk, and a huge task. It took about 3.5 years of back-breaking work, working with Acts of Parliament, which can take quite a long time, including the help as well of 150 Welsh miners to create a zoo that opened to the public. And of course, we can't talk about Whipsnade and ZSL without talking about Miss Joan Proctor. ZSL and Whipsnade would not be what it is without Joan Proctor. At age 19, Joan presented her first paper to ZSL and became a fellow in 1917. In November 1923, she assumed the role of Curator of Reptiles and Amphibians, the second female curator of ZSL, behind Evelyn Cheeseman. She was well known for her intelligent designs, including the new reptile house at London Zoo, which was still used as a reptile house until 2022, and is now, of course, Zoo Town. She wrote many scientific papers and articles and made significant contributions to veterinary practice and zoo animal welfare, revolutionising how reptiles were cared for. Unfortunately, due to her deteriorating health, she basically handed in her notice and quit. But the president of ZSL at the time said, no, sorry, we still want you. So he sent her up to the countryside to convalesce instead. And this is how Joan ended up staying at Hall Farm at Whipsnade Zoo in 1928. Now, there's many, many stories that I would love to tell you about Joan Proctor when she was living there, but unfortunately I can't, so maybe ask at the end. But every morning she rode a pony from the farmhouse to the top of the downs And the track still exists today. If you go visit between our meerkats and our rhino, you are on Miss Joan's ride. And we've recently put up signage to commemorate her, and she's also mentioned in our Women of Wildlife 200 exhibition, both at the Cube, that's here in London, and of course at Whipsnade Zoo, to sort of celebrate her amazing achievements and very inspiring life. But what about Whipsnade's first arrivals? Well, they started arriving before the zoo opened. Records are slightly confused, so I apologise if I basically counteract anything that's been said over the last 2 years. But basically, we don't really know who arrived first. There's a bit of an argument. Was it the muntjac deer or the brush turkey from the Duke of Bedford? Was it the Amherst and golden pheasants or the jungle fowl transferred from London? Or was it the West African spurred-winged goose named Cecil, who is described by some as the father of Whipsnade? We can't agree. But we can agree on who came next. So in 1931, we had many animals: pygmy hippos, zebra, bison, American bison, I should say, nilgai, wombats, and sloth bears. And this is one of my favourite photos that we like to show, because in January 1932, the keepers walked the camels and the elephants from Dunstable train station up to the zoo. So you'll see that a lot on our web pages. I see some people taking photos. I'll wait. There you go. So by the time the zoo's first superintendent, Captain Beale, came and gave a talk to the local Rotary Club in the mid-1930s, he notes there was about 2,400 animals at Whipsnade, including our very famous wolves of Whipsnade Wood, which is now with our wild dogs. One of the most noticeable animals that we had at the time was Teddy, which I think is obviously an iconic name for a bear. So he was Whipsnade's first brown bear, donated to the zoo by the rather eccentric Lady Annie Yule, who at the time was the wealthiest woman in the UK. She donated Teddy as well as £1,000, which, well, in that money was quite a lot. And this allowed to build this very naturalistic habitat for Teddy, which was quite unique for the time. Not only that, but we can see in the right-hand image the expert keeper care that happened in the 1930s of Teddy enjoying a watering can shower. So this is the clearest image that we have from these newspapers. So yes, we have our lovely keeper giving Teddy a little shower. And he obviously also got on well with his partner Mary, as they pulled off one of UK's breeding firsts we've had at Whipsnade, or one of many. In 1932, they had cubs, the first brown bear cubs ever born in zoos in the UK. So just as ZSL has changed over the last 200 years or so, Whipsnade has also seen quite a few changes over the last 95 years in the way that we house and care for our animals.
Among ZSL's veterinary visionaries was Abraham D. Bartlett, who was made superintendent of London Zoo in 1859 and became an authority on the care of wild animals. The world-famous Jumbo, the 3-metre-tall and 6-ton African elephant, was just one of the animals under his care and remained so until the age of 21, when Jumbo left the zoo for America. With the Veterinary Surgeons Act coming in 1948, ZSL appointed Oliver Graham Jones, the first resident vet at London Zoo, in 1951. By the time he retired as senior veterinary officer in 1966, his list of patients had included a cockroach with a throat infection, a gorilla with a hernia, and a raven at the Tower of London in need of a wooden leg. He also introduced numerous important innovations, among them the flying syringe, which is used for humane tranquilizing, a fully equipped animal hospital, and an animal outpatient clinic. Our first zoo vet at Whipsnade was also the first superintendent. His name was Captain William Beale. He was highly experienced, having worked as a vet out in West Africa before World War I. He rose to the rank of Assistant Director of Veterinary Services and was one of the great Whipsnade characters. Our veterinary departments look a little different nowadays. The Wildlife Health Services team currently consists of 2 resident vets, 4 staff vets, 6 resident vet nurses, a veterinary pathologist, a pathology associate, a microbiologist, a molecular diagnostician, and a partridge in a pear tree. Spread across veterinary hospitals at London at Whipsnade, together they are responsible for the health of over 20,000 animals, 365 days a year. Protecting Britain's endangered species is our DRAS team, the Disease Risk Analysis and Health Surveillance team, working with Natural England to translocate animals for conservation purposes. And one such animal that has been a recent priority is the little hazel dormouse. Once common across the UK, hazel dormouse populations have been decreasing and are now extinct in 17 counties. In June, just last month, the deer and antelope team from Whipsnade boxed up 20 hazel dormice, 3 which we bred at Whipsnade, and bid them farewell to enjoy a new life in the ancient woodlands of Leicestershire. The captive bred dormice were given health checks and quarantined before being released into nest boxes within large mesh enclosures to help them acclimatise to the woodland. Over 1,000 dormice have been released into 14 counties since the programme began in 1993. Our Wildlife Health Services look like they have a very healthy future, as well as from a very generous £20 million donation. ZSL will be able to bring veterinary science to everyone with the UK's first viewing gallery in a vet hospital. The new centre will integrate world-class clinical care, a teaching hospital and wildlife disease research. It will also allow us to expand our teaching of hundreds of wildlife vets and conservation scientists. But back on the ground at Whipsnade, the main progress in zoo veterinary medicine is the change from reactive to proactive care, and our animals are able to voluntarily take part in their own health care. So, whether it is collecting blood or plasma from our herd of Asian elephants, station training our marabou storks, X-raying our giraffes' hooves, or vaccinating our cheetahs, positive reinforcement training is now an integral part of keeper daily life. One such project that's been a great success is our project with our chimpanzees. Whipsnade Zoo has been working with the International Primate Heart Project for over 10 years to monitor the cardiac health of Whipsnade's chimpanzee troop. We have implanted 8 implantable loop recorders into 4 chimpanzees over the years, and these recorders were used to continuously monitor the heart's electrical activity. All Whipsnade chimpanzees undergo training to present their chests for conscious cardiac ultrasounds, and as they don't currently have their implantable loop recorders in place, we're also doing fingertip ECG readings being taken from all of our chimps once a week. A small plate, as you can see, holding 2 sensors connects to Bluetooth to a phone app, and the chimps have been trained to present their fingers on this device for 30 seconds in order to obtain these regular ECG readings. The other benefit of proactive care is that you get quite a few cute pictures of animals being weighed. And yes, you can train a crocodile to be weighed. Moving on then to Whipsnade's grand designs. Some of the most iconic features of Whipsnade were once the habitats dug into our hillside. Pre-1990s, tigers, lions, Kodiak and polar bears were housed in these hillside pits. In its place now are buried shipping containers used to create high binocular for native bats. The Bedfordshire Bat Group have been monitoring these areas, and we are incredibly lucky to have 10 of Bedfordshire's 12 known bat species hanging out at the zoo, with at least 5 species hibernating in our converted animal habitats. Whipsnade Zoo's success with breeding cheetahs goes back to the 1960s and is truly world famous. We're the first zoo in the world to breed and successfully rear cheetahs, and we have had over 130 born in our 95-year history. The secret to our success, we are understanding the wild cheetah mating behaviour and considering this in our enclosure design. So most importantly, only half of our cheetah habitat is visible to visitors. Behind the scenes, there is a whole breeding complex which gives the cheetahs peace and privacy, as well as allowing the males and females to be kept separate If both sexes are kept together, cheetahs very quickly form sibling relationships and lose interest in mating. Also, the females are fussy and need to be offered choices. First encounters would be through smell. So males and females are swapped into each other's enclosures to get that first whiff of their potential love interest. Then by the side of the female paddock is Lover's Lane, where males and females can see and smell each other through the fencing. Keepers observe these interactions, and if they see good pre-mating behaviour, the cheetahs are put together. This way of breeding continues to this day, and we now have 2 new litters of cheetahs born to first-time mums back in May, totalling 7 cubs altogether. They will be on show later this summer. Named after the spicy mix of grasses and herbs that grow here, this 21-acre paddock has played a major role in the Whipsnade story. By the 1970s, we had a worldwide reputation for breeding excellence. So when the South African authorities were looking for a base to start building a European insurance herd of white rhino, the obvious choice was Whipsnade. So a group of 7 males and 13 females were loaded onto a ship and set sail for England and arrived in August 1970. They were first housed next to our train, but they had big feelings about this and took those feelings out on the train one too many times. So in the 1980s, they were moved to Spicersfield at the heart of our Africa section. To this day, we are the most successful zoo in Europe for breeding white rhino, with our latest arrival, Mick, a 6-month-old calf born on New Year's Eve, bringing our total to 60 calves born over the 50 years of having white rhinos. So safeguarding for the future. Monkey Forest is one of our newest habitats, home to a troop of Sulawesi macaques, also lowland Anoa, Francois Langers and hairy Babirusa. It was designed and built in 2023 and is the largest macaque habitat in the UK and encompasses over 100 existing woodland trees. The surrounding land is also biodiverse scrubland enclosed by dead hedging fences completed with the help of local community groups. And one of the most drastic changes in habitat and daily care that we've seen at Whipsnade has been for our elephants. Housed separately in a concrete building designed by Berthold Lebetkin, who also designed London Zoo's iconic penguin pool, they were taken out for elephant rides and demonstrations back in the 1930s. They now have our Centre for Elephant Care and over 5 acres of outside habitat. And we're actually entering phase 2 of our elephant habitat works to include an all-weather paddock, natural shade and fully immersive pool for our herd of 6 Asian elephants, including our newest arrival, that little baby boy who was born on the 8th of June.
And no, he doesn't have a name yet. That's always what people ask us. So not only do we protect species that are endangered, but conservation zoos, as we've already heard quite a lot about, have powerful potential to reverse extinction. Over our 2 zoos, London and Whipsnade, we work with 16 of the 35 currently extinct in the wild animal species, more than any other zoo in the UK. We have had a long history of working with other species, such as the Partula tree snail that we've already mentioned today, the Pear David's deer, and the zeek, or the Guam kingfisher. Of the 16 species that ZSL look after, 10 live at Whipsnade. Not that it's a competition. One of these species is the scimitar-horned oryx. So we've been looking after these for about 30 years or so. They became extinct in the wild in the 2000s after habitat loss and hunting pressure. But for over 30 years, Whipsnade Zoo has been breeding this oryx, and in the early 2000s, we joined a group to help create one of the most ambitious reintroduction projects ever, a world herd of oryx with as much genetic variation as possible. This wild herd included 2 female oryx from Whipsnade, it's not these 2, who were transported alongside 23 other animals to a facility in Abu Dhabi in 2014. In August 2016, the first reintroductions took place, and in September 2016, we celebrated the first scimitar-horned oryx calf born in the wild in 30 years. Since then, over 500 calves have been born in the wild. Not only did we help with the initial animals provided to this breeding programme, but keepers from Whipsnade have travelled to conservation sites to provide expert support and training to local people in Chad to monitor the oryx once they released. In December 2023, the oryx were reassessed and were reclassified from extinct in the wild to just endangered. I say just. This collaboration has been an unbelievable success, and there are now over 600 scimitar-horned oryx in the wild in Chad. But it's not just the fluffy things that should get our attention. We should, of course, look at fish too. They deserve our love. Whipsnade's aquarium is the first public aquarium in the UK dedicated to conserving threatened and extinct in the wild freshwater fish, including 3 species of pupfish, La Palma, Charco and Potosi. These pupfish lived in freshwater desert springs in Mexico, with each spring being home to a unique species of fish. But by the mid-1990s, the springs had disappeared completely due to groundwater extraction for agriculture. Fortunately for our 3 species, conservationists got there in time and were able to rescue them, bringing them back to conservation facilities like Whipsnade. These are the only places that these fish have existed for 30 years. Our team of keepers carefully manage their populations, breeding the fish and ensuring we don't lose them forever. Whipsnade Zoo is also spearheading a dramatic conservation effort to save another pupfish, the boxer pupfish, from extinction. Whilst it's currently listed as endangered, studies conducted by ZSL in 2024 and 2025 found that there was no evidence of the pupfish over the last few years. With that, we were informed as well that Whipsnade Zoo had the last viable population of pupfish. And this obviously sort of ended up spearheading quite a conservation safeguarding effort. And in a bid to ensure that we don't have all our eggs in one basket, pardon the pun, we sent some fish over to Vienna, making sure that we have a new breeding population in other zoos. Almost done, don't worry. Our conservation work and veterinary care ensures that species can thrive in the future. Not only that, but Whipsnade is a haven for local biodiversity. From moles and badgers to slowworms and bats, Whipsnade is home to over 1,500 species of native flora and fauna, with teams working to protect these species. In March 2025, Whipsnade Zoo became the first UK zoo to plant a tiny forest. With the help of 54 primary school pupils from 3 schools in central Bedfordshire, we planted 13 species of tree in a 200 square metre plot. Chalmers Mitchell's vision of being a sanctuary for British species can live on with our work with local schools, introducing children to the nature on their very doorstep. It is the soul of Whipsnade Zoo, our wide open spaces, our cleverly designed natural habitats, and our havens for native species that keep his vision of a natural, open zoo alive. Whilst we probably won't be around for the next 95 years of Whipsnade or 200 years of ZSL, it'll definitely be interesting to see where the future takes us. Thank you very much.